Hello there. Today I am going to be showing you how to edit an image in Photoshop. My daughter and her husband had a wedding back in December, and my granddaughter wasn't able to be there, so I have decided to add her to the picture. So eventually the picture is going to look like this or close to it, and that's what we're going to be doing today. So I started editing by using the rectangle tool, but now I'm going to use the polygonal lasso tool, the magnetic lasso tool actually. And I'm going to do that because I am going to let it draw the lines for me, as you can see. And so as I go around and then come back down, letting it draw the lines for me, then I can get rid of this bottom layer here. So now that we've cut out the background, we're going to start adding stuff in. When I'm working with a picture in Photoshop, I like to go ahead and just start bringing everything in that I'm going to be using, and that way I have it over here in this area and I can turn it off and turn it on. So as you can see, I turned on this picture of my granddaughter Callie that I am going to be adding, and now I am also going to be going back and filling in the background. So I am going to start turning on some layers that I have already imported, and this way you will be able to see the background effects started adding back in. Normally you might just embed an object, but I made it this way to make the quicker video. If you wanted to embed the object, you would go up here to File, Place Embedded, find the object, and put it in there. But I've already got them in here in the layers. Okay, so now that I've got all the pumpkins back in there, it's time to start bringing the branches back in. If you remember in the original picture that I showed you, there was branches, and I used those branches for a couple of reasons. Biggest reason is to cover up anything that might look kind of funky, and the other reason is to make Callie and her mother look more conducive to each other, like a wedding party should, as well as the bouquet. So I'm going to go up here and start turning the branches on, and then you can see where they're at. So I've added the branch layers back in now, and move them around a little bit. It's really easy once you add them back in, whether you're embedding or pulling them up from a layer over here where you're turning things on and off. For instance, if I click on this, then that branch goes away. Click on this, that branch goes away. So, like for instance, if I want to play around over here, this still looks kind of funky to me. So I'm going to play around with that a little bit. I still want to cover up that weird funky looking stuff on that pumpkin right there. So let's see how that looks. And I don't like this sticking up here, so I'm going to fix that and see what that looks like. So as you can see, I played around with the branches and tried to cover up some of the flaws. The only thing left to do now that I'm really not happy with is Callie here. You can see the cutout from her hair here. So I'm going to go up here and grab the blur tool under layer, or actually under filter, and I'm going to go to blur and blur gallery, and I'm going to go to an iris blur, and I'm going to pull the hair. Added that motion blur with Callie, and now I am on one of the branches here in the bouquet, and I'm going to see if I can't add a little bit of a motion blur to it that matches the actual background in the original picture. So filter, blur, motion blur. Looks like that angle's pretty good. It's okay. Well, I think that that looks pretty good to me. So as you can see, it's all about the layers. And the fun thing with Photoshop, once you get used to it, and boy, have I got a lot to learn, is learning how to do your layers, learning how to turn layers on and off so that you can sometimes see what's behind them, because you're like, wait a minute, what's going on? For instance, there's Josh's pants, and then there's not Josh's pants. So, because I cut and pasted his pants in to make more of a blending effect there, and I just realized I need to move those pants over a little bit. And so I think that I am actually pretty happy with this at this point. And I am just going to save it. So I can save it in Photoshop. I can save it in JPEG. I'm going to go up here. I'm going to hit select, select all, file, save as. I usually try and save in Photoshop first. We're going to call this copy 2. And then I will go back and save it as a JPEG so I can use it in other ways. So go down to a JPEG here. Of course, there's a lot of different things that you can save. And I usually like to save it in a high quality. And matte, I don't usually mess with any of this because I'm pretty happy with the way that it looks. So I just click OK. And I am done. You have your picture to do whatever you choose to do with it. And that's the end of the video. Thank you.